Hello and welcome to Lifetime with Katie. I got a request to research a couple of candidates from the American Solidarity Party, and so I wanted to use that as an opportunity to show you how I research. So I'm going to kind of give you some screenshots here to kind of show you what I did when I was researching this party, and these candidates. Okay, so first I'm going to research the American Solidarity Party. Whenever you're looking at a candidate who has a party affiliation, you want to look at their party because usually they're going to fall in line with the platform of that party. So, I'm going to just start by Googling. It's not really all that complicated. I'm not, crawling through the archives. This is just Google. But I'm going to Google it and I'm going to look for ASP's homepage, their main website. And so that comes up right at the top, first result when I search American Solidarity Party. So I'm just going to go ahead and click that. Okay, so on their homepage, we've already got kind of what we stand for. And just already right here, if you look in that paragraph, and you might need to kind of pause the video and look a little closer, but it does say sanctity of life or sanctity of human life, which is a really good sign. So let's go ahead and look a little deeper and click on View Platform. All right, so most political parties are going to have a position or platform page like this, and we see a lot of different areas where they have stated positions. Just right off the bat, one thing I'm going to notice, right to life is listed first. So from a pro-life perspective, this is awesome. This is what we want to see in a pro-life political party. And I am going to go ahead and say this is a pro-life party. This is not, we're not going to argue here about whether or not they're pro-life. Now there's some other things on this list, and as I went through where I said, I'm not sure how I feel about some of these things, but overall they are definitely a pro-life party in that sense. And we can look a little bit closer at their right to life positions. Now, obviously, I'm overall going to agree with these positions. Personally, this isn't telling you who to vote for, but personally, I'm not a big fan of big government intervention, and this does seem to be, we see government funds, we see, social safety net. Those are things to me that are red flags from a limited government perspective. But from a pro-life perspective, this is really good. I like that it says constitutional amendment for personhood. That's a really good sign. I disagree with them on capital punishment. That's a topic for another video. But so already for me, I'm going to say no, I'm not going to be voting for candidates from this party. But if you are maybe a pro-life Democrat, or you're pro-life but you don't agree with the Republican Party, you want more kind of government support or more government intervention, this actually might be the party for you, might be something worth considering. So the next thing I did was I clicked blog up at the top. If you look at that top menu bar, I selected that. And because I wanted to show you guys something. And then the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm under, if you see where it says top categories, I'm going to click candidates and campaigns. And here I want to point out, so ASP, Solidarity Party, does have several candidates running for president. And at this point in our election cycle, these candidates don't have a lot of name ID or name recognition. They don't have a big enough base to really pose a serious campaign for president of the United States. However, third parties tend to do better in local elections. So I actually would be more interested in seeing them put more focus on races like mayor, the race for mayor in the, here in Bowden, Georgia. I've never heard of Bowden, Georgia. If you're from there, I'm sorry. but mayor of a smaller town where you have connections with the people, you know people, you can be out there campaigning. People know who you are. You can get your name and your face out there. That's where third parties have a better chance of getting somewhere. And it's a great place for them to start. And I would love to see ASP, if they're really going to pose a serious challenge, especially to the Democrats. I see them as an alternative to the Democratic Party because they have a lot of those same positions as far as social safety net and government interventions, but they do not, but they don't have the pro-abortion position of the Democratic Party. They have a pro-life position instead. So I'd love to see them really challenge the Democratic Party in some of these local races, and really kind of challenge some of these Democratic local officials or even congressional representatives. So I like that they do have a local race that's happening, a local mayor race, but I'd like to see more of that from them. So next, I'm going to start looking at candidates. Joe Schriner is endorsed by ASP. And so I went ahead and Googled him. He's one of the ones who I got the request to look into him. His website, his campaign website, pops up as a second result. So I'm going to go ahead and click that because that's a great place to start. It's not necessarily the end of the research, especially if you decide you really like him. I would encourage further research. But this is a great place to start. So just getting to Joe Schreiner's homepage, we already can see Average Joe. He's very much got this down-to-earth angle. He's really trying to be just, man's man, common man person, which, is a little bit of what Trump kind of tried to do, but Joe seems to have more of the, legitimately middle class, working person vibe to him. I do notice that he has in his top banner crossed out the years that he apparently ran for president and did not win, obviously. And I question that as a campaign choice to advertise the fact that he's run this many times and not won. To me, that says, okay, maybe we need to change tactics or change something. I would like to see him potentially look at some local elections if he's having so much trouble running for president, or get some more name ID, some more publicity. He's going to need to be a household name before he can really launch a serious campaign. Scrolling down a little bit, obviously we got a lot going on here. The web development isn't necessarily his strong suit, but that kind of, I think, lends to the average person vibe. So that could actually work in his favor if that's really his angle as a candidate. But I do want to note up there in the top right corner of the screen, we have his endorsements being endorsed by the Christian Democratic Party. Now, the Christian Democratic Party was renamed to the American Solidarity Party, so they're the same thing. But we're going to go ahead and click on that because we want to look at endorsements whenever we're researching a candidate. So again, looking at his endorsements, pretty much we're just talking about the ASP endorsing him at this point. And they just kind of, they changed names at some point after they endorsed him, so he's clarifying that. This is back in 2012. It'd be interesting to see if he has any current endorsements, if he's currently running in 2020. Again, that's, if you want to make a serious run for political office, you do need endorsements from organizations that have reach. And so I'm assuming ASP is endorsing him again, but then maybe he could update this on his website. Just make sure to make that clear. But anyway, he is endorsed, so that means that's one of the reasons why we looked at ASP already, is so that, okay, he's endorsed by ASP. What does that mean? What does that mean about his positions or his platform? So next we'll actually go look at his platform. I'm going to go ahead and click positions. If you look at the top there. And he has an overview, but I'm just going to go ahead and click read Joe's policies. Click that button right there. And so we see a whole list of position paper categories. Since we are focusing on pro-life candidates and researching them, I'm going to go ahead and just start with abortion. Go ahead and click that right at the top of that list. And so clearly he is pro-life, he's anti-abortion when we're looking at this life issues page. So that's a good sign. So if you're looking for a pro-life candidate and you like his other policies or you like his personality, yeah, definitely consider him. Here's my issue, though, that I want to address with this particular candidate. This picture in the top right, you see what appears to be a protest outside of an abortion facility. And, you see that sign, it's the Ocala Women's Center, Clinic, something like that, in Ocala, Florida. There's this whole group here with these big red and black signs with big capital letters saying things like, God calls abortion murder and, abortion kills children, all of which are true. There's nothing false about these signs. However, my issue is the fact that this protest is being done in front of an abortion facility. I could see having those signs and that protest at a state capitol, legislature, when you're trying to affect change policy-wise, legislatively. However, in front of an abortion facility, we have to be mindful, especially if the abortion facility is open that day. Now, maybe that abortion facility was closed that day and they were having this protest, but more likely it was open, and which means that women were going inside to have their abortions. And this kind of protest chases them inside and encourages them to go into the clinic because they're scared. They're going to be scared of you. They're not going to want to talk to you. They're not going to want resources when you've got signs like that. They will not come talk to you, or it's very unlikely. And if anything, they'll come and be confrontational. What we want outside the abortion facility is a couple, not that many signs, one or two very simple signs that offer help and compassion and support for that woman, so that she can choose life. We want to invite her and encourage her to come and talk to us and receive help. We don't want to push her away. So it does concern me a little bit that this is one of his examples of him being a pro-life person. That it's like he's proud of this. And, I know a lot of people who are going to disagree with me on this, and they're going to be mad that I, disparaged people protesting outside abortion facilities. But that in and of itself does concern me, and it's not something I want to encourage. Now, Joe does seem to be a consistent life ethic kind of candidate. So, he even says so right at the top of this short position paper. It's actually a very long paper, or there's the full paper is much longer. So if you want to go to his website and read his full paper, it's there. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because a lot of it is pretty much what we would expect at this point from what we've seen from him. I didn't see anything in it that was shocking or surprising to me. There's a couple of things I disagree with, but there's definitely some very pro-life stuff in here. The vast majority of it I agree with, and he is definitely a pro-life candidate based on his positions on these issues. Now we're going to take a quick look at Brian T. Carroll. Same kind of deal. I'm going to Google him. When I first Google him, I get a few different results. I get Wikipedia. I get his Facebook page, which I looked at. There's not a whole lot there. That's very helpful. And I get some outdated information from when he ran for California Congress, or to be a congressional representative from California. But the first result was Ballotpedia, and I do want to look at that real quick and show you some of the benefits of that website for candidate research, because I think it actually, Carroll is a good example for that. So on Ballotpedia, I went ahead and underlined, so that's my annotation there in blue at the bottom. I went ahead and underlined him, and if you don't have captions on, you should be able to see this. So he ran for U.S. House, California District 22 in 2018. Now, 2018 was not a good year for Republicans. It was not a good year for conservatives. However, if we look at the votes, he didn't even come close. And a Republican actually won that seat in California with over 70,000 votes. Brian T. Carroll had about 1,600. So what that tells me is that even in his community, he is not well known enough. He doesn't have enough recognition. He doesn't have enough support in his own community to win a congressional seat. And that could just be, I mean, it could be his district, but he's, that's currently being represented by a Republican. So that doesn't tell me that it's a super blue district that, he doesn't have a chance. It could just be the combination of pro-life plus democratic social policies. That could actually be what is hard for him because he can't get Democrats or Republicans. But he is, he's putting himself out there locally. He didn't do very well, and now he's running for president. So to me, that's a little bit concerning. It's just like Beto O'Rourke, failing to win Senate in Texas and then going to run for president. It's like, maybe we need to work on our local election game before we can try and go for the big leagues. So just as far as electability, I'm not seeing it here. And remember, we want to elect, not just vote for, but elect pro-life candidates. So I went back to Google and just to refine my results a little bit, because I was also getting some other Brian Carrolls that were not related to this guy. So I went ahead and added campaign. You could also add president or whatever office they're running for in your search bar, and that should help you narrow down the results and get something a little more useful. He doesn't seem to have a functioning website for his campaign, which is a little bit concerning if you're running for president. He's got his Facebook page, but it seems to be a little bit out of date or not quite put together. And he has a Google Sites website, but it's still set up for him running for Congress. It's not updated for 2020, which again, you got to be on top of that kind of stuff if you're going to run for president. But I went ahead and found his page. It's actually a blog post from ASP because he is endorsed by them as well. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that. So looking at this blog post, he's got a little graphic there with his picture and his positions. Again, this is pretty similar to what we saw on the platform page for ASP. Includes a healthcare for all, and that is another thing that was on ASP's platform page that I had trouble with, which was the idea of universal or single-payer healthcare, which they support. I've seen too many examples of that going wrong in other countries, and I don't like the government being in charge of healthcare. So that's one of those issues where I'm going to say, not so much, with this candidate. However, if you are a universal healthcare, single-payer healthcare supporter, and you're pro-life, this might be a good candidate for you. This might be somebody to look into. So you can go ahead, if you want to, you can go ahead and look him up and find this page and read his whole thing, his history and everything. But pretty much that graphic is going to give you as much as I found anywhere on his positions. So you can just go ahead and kind of and look at that and do some more research if you want to. But I think that graphic pretty much sums him up as far as his positions, or at least what he's shared publicly. And just to wrap this up, because this video is getting a little long, I want to talk about voting third party, especially when we're voting pro-life. So these are kind of my guidelines. Now, remember, I usually vote Republican unless there seems to be a viable third party candidate who is pro-life and has a chance at winning. So sometimes I'll vote Libertarian if there's a good Libertarian candidate or whoever else. But these are my guidelines. We want to elect pro-life candidates, not just vote for them. So if you are voting for somebody who has zero chance of winning because they have no name ID, they have no base, they have no grassroots campaign going on, you heard about them through a friend or something, but the general public doesn't know about them. At that point we're not going to be electing them. We can vote for them, but you're not going to elect them. If you want to elect them, we'll talk about that. So third-party candidates with low name ID can do better at the local level because they can network more with people in their area. It's easier for them to run that campaign and get their name out there. They don't have to try and compete with the candidates that have all the funding and all the endorsements and everything. They can kind of compete at a different level. And that can kind of get them in the game and get them with some reputation, with some record, so that they can potentially later on run for higher office. But if you really love a third-party candidate and you want them to win, they're going to need massive grassroots support. So volunteer for their campaign, donate to their campaign if you really want them to win. Don't just vote for them, actually fight for them. Because if we want third-party candidates to be a viable option, we have to be talking about them. We have to get their names and their policies out there so that the general public knows who they are and knows their options. For the most part, the general public is going to choose between Republican and Democrat. And that's why third-party candidates usually don't win major offices. The general public needs to know about this candidate if you want them to do well, if you want them to have a chance. And finally, every election matters and every vote matters. Do not throw your vote away. Do not stay home because you can't decide. Do your research, pick somebody who is electable and also pro-life and meets your values as much as possible. But let's elect people who can make changes for the better. And every election matters, meaning that every office, whether it is your mayor, whether it's your community college school board, whether it is your comptroller, whoever it is, you need to research every single election. You need to care about every single level of government because every single level matters. So that kind of wraps this up, kind of reemphasizing some of my points from my other video, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys understood what I mean when I talk about researching a candidate. I hope this was helpful. If you have other candidates you want me to look at, go ahead and send them in the comments or through my Tumblr blog, Pro Life, Pro Liberty. And just kind of let me know if there's other candidates if you want my take on them or you are having trouble finding info on them. I can look at that and I can either just give you my take or maybe I'll do another video like this. But I hope you liked it. Go ahead and hit subscribe if you haven't done so already. Go ahead and hit the notifications button so that you don't miss my future videos. And hit like on this video, leave a comment, engage. And hopefully I'll see you soon on another video with Lifetime with Katie.